Last year, my husband had a really serious health problem that scared all of us. He used to drink a lot and spent a lot of time gambling. No matter how much I or the kids tried to talk to him and tell him to stop or slow down, he didn't pay any attention. He just wouldn't listen. Then something happened that changed everything. He got into a car accident and it was really bad. It almost took his life. He ended up staying in the hospital for many weeks. Thankfully, he recovered eventually, and the whole experience was enough to really frighten him for the very first time in his life. After that, he started to think differently about how he was living. After he got better, my husband completely stopped drinking and began working out regularly. It felt like he changed overnight. There were no more drinks, no more gambling, and he gave up eating junk food too. Because of all this, he lost a lot of weight, which made me and the kids really proud of him at first. But then things started to go a little too far. Along with his new diet rules for himself, he began to control what me and the kids could eat. He didn't want us to have any processed foods at all. Things like chips or cookies were banned for the kids. On top of that, he didn't allow them to eat any sugar. And this was really hard for the kids to deal with. They missed having their treats, and it made things tense at home. After a while, my husband didn't just control what we ate, he also started telling us how much we could eat. Our kids are still growing, but if they ate more than 2 meals a day, he would get really angry and shout at them. It was hard to understand because kids need enough food to grow strong and healthy. At first, he didn't want us to eat any carbohydrates like bread or rice. Then, after some time, he decided we shouldn't eat any meat either. He wanted all of us to become completely vegan, which means no animal products at all. On top of that, he wanted us to give up gluten and eggs too. It felt like things were getting out of control and too strict for the whole family to handle. One day, I remember we all went to my mother's house to celebrate her birthday with lunch. Everything was going fine until the kids wanted to have some cake. That's when my husband completely lost it. He got really angry in front of everyone. He threw their plates on the floor and his face turned red as he started shouting at the kids. It was such a shocking scene. That moment made me realize that things had gone way too far. Before that, I hadn't said much because I thought my husband was just trying to help us live healthier lives. But seeing him throw a tantrum like an angry little kid made me understand how harmful and toxic his behavior really was. My children were actually scared of their own father, and it broke my heart to see that. That night, after we got home, I had a big argument with my husband. I told him very clearly and firmly that he could eat and live however he wanted, but if he ever said one more word about what me or the kids could eat, I would take the kids and leave him. I made it clear that our children are still growing and need plenty of good nutrition. They have the right to eat what they want. Of course, with some limits on sugar, which should be kept in moderation. But other than that, they shouldn't be controlled like that. I wanted him to understand that this wasn't something I was willing to compromise on anymore. My husband tried to argue with me, but I stood my ground and didn't back down. I was very firm about how important this was to me and the kids. After that night, he didn't dare say anything about what we eat anymore. Sometimes he still makes little comments about the calories in our food, but for the most part, he stays out of our business now. It feels like he's finally learned to keep his nose out of our business, and that has made life at home a little bit easier and less stressful for all of us. Lately, my husband has been cutting down on fat and getting really lean. He's been eating almost only 1 meal a day, which seems very little to me. And he's been doing a lot of cardio exercises, along with strength training. If you ask me, I think he might be doing too much, and it worries me a little. But at the same time, it's his body, so I feel like he should be free to do whatever he wants. Just last week, he came home and started bragging about how some girls at his gym have been staring at him. He even said he's pretty sure one or two of them want to ask him out. I was honestly surprised and didn't quite know what to say. I asked him if he actually wanted those girls to ask him out, and he just blushed red. He then went on to say how he wished he had been this lean back when he was single. He said if he had looked like this then, he could have freely dated some of those women and had some fun. Hearing what he said felt like a slap in the face. I just stared at him for a moment and then asked if that's really what he was thinking about. Being single again and dating girls from his gym? My husband just shrugged and tried to laugh it off. He joked that if we ever got divorced, he could always upgrade to a younger woman. Then he added maybe next time he would date someone much closer to his own age. When I heard that, I completely froze. It was so shocking and hurtful to hear him say something like that, even if he said it jokingly. For context, my husband is actually 2 years younger than me. Over the years we've been together, he never once mentioned our age difference because it's really very small, almost like it doesn't even matter. But now all of a sudden, he started bringing it up in a way that made me feel like I was some old grandma or something. It felt really hurtful and strange. And on top of that, why was he even joking about meeting someone else? He's married and has 2 kids. I just couldn't understand why he would say things like that, especially in front of me. It made me question a lot about how he was really feeling and what was going on in his mind. I looked at him carefully and asked again, "Do you really mean what you just said about leaving me and finding someone younger?" But instead of giving me a serious answer, he just laughed right in my face. Then he said I needed to take a chill pill, like I was overreacting or being too sensitive. That kind of reaction made me feel even worse. I didn't say a word after that because I was stunned. And honestly, I didn't know how to respond to someone acting so dismissive about something so painful. Since that moment, his words keep running through my head. I can't stop thinking about them no matter how much I try. Was he serious when he joked about leaving me? Did he really want to cheat on me? Or was it just a careless joke? The more I think about it, the more questions I have. And none of them have clear answers. I feel hurt and confused because the person I love and trusted so much sounded like he doesn't value our marriage the way I do. It's like a heavy weight in my chest that won't go away, and sometimes it even keeps me awake at night. I just don't know what to believe anymore. I feel really angry because it seems like he thinks he deserves someone better than me, like I'm not good enough for him. That hurts a lot. Since that conversation, my husband has noticed that my mood has been changing a lot. He says I'm overreacting and I'm taking his words too literally. He wants me to just let it go and move on. But it's hard for me to do that because what he said really upset me. And it feels like he's not taking my feelings seriously. AITA. Update 1. Thank you all so much for your comments and for taking the time to share your thoughts. I really appreciate the support and advice. I just want to clear up a few things to give a better picture of our situation. Both my husband and I work. We both have jobs. I'm not a stay-at-home wife. I also make time for exercise, though I don't go to the gym like my husband does. Instead, I enjoy cycling and swimming as my ways to stay active and healthy. So we both try to keep fit, just in different ways. Luckily, our kids don't have any unhealthy or negative feelings about food, even though my husband's strict rules made things really tough for a while. The kids weren't completely scared or upset in a way that would affect them forever. Thankfully, now they have gotten back to eating the kind of foods they enjoy and want. They feel free to choose what they want to eat again. And that makes me really happy because I want them to have a healthy and happy relationship with food. We are thousands of dollars in debt because of my husband's many years of gambling and making careless money decisions. It wasn't easy, and it caused a lot of stress for all of us. Right now, we are working hard to pay off the debt little by little. It's a slow process and it will take some time before we're completely free of it. But we're hopeful and trying to stay positive as we move forward. No, I really don't think my husband's having an affair. Honestly, I don't think he has the courage to do something like that. He knows how strong-willed and determined I am. And he knows very well that if he ever cheated or did something wrong like that, I would leave him for sure. He also knows that if that happened, none of our kids would want to have anything to do with him. But even though I don't think he's actually cheating, the joke he made was a big warning sign for me. It's bothered me a lot, and I'm planning to have a serious talk with him about it. I want to make it very clear to him that I am not someone he can just throw away or treat like I don't matter. I want him to understand how important I am in his life and in our family. Update 2. Okay, everyone, after listening to all the advice you gave me, I made up my mind to teach my husband a little lesson in humility. So this week, I told him that since he thinks he has lost so much weight and now feels like he can date younger women, I wanted to help him prove it. I said I would take him to a bar so we could go out and see for ourselves if those women really do pay attention to him and try to hit on him. It was my way of showing him that maybe things aren't as easy as he thinks and to bring him back down to earth a little. My husband looked at me like I had grown another head, like he couldn't believe what I was saying. He asked me, "What are you even talking about?" So I looked right at him and told him that since he thinks he's lost so much weight and can now date younger women, I wanted to see for myself just how in demand he really is with the younger women out there. I wanted to find out if it's really as easy for him as he thinks. I told him that when we went out, we would sit apart from each other so he could act like he was single if he wanted to. He was free to talk to any woman who came up to him. And I told him that I would have the same rule. I could talk to any man who approached me. He thought about it for a moment and then agreed to do this. It felt like a fair way to really test how things would go. That evening when we arrived at the bar, we followed the plan exactly. We found separate seats so that my husband and I could act like strangers, just like we agreed. I could tell he was feeling a little nervous, but also a bit confident, like he was ready to prove me wrong about how popular he was. I was curious too, but I stayed calm on the outside. As the night went on, something became really clear, and it was tough to watch. Not one single woman came over to talk to my husband. No one smiled at him. No one showed any interest. It was almost like he wasn't even there. The bar was full of people, but every time a woman's eyes moved around the room, they always stopped at other men. Usually guys who looked younger, more attractive, or seemed to have more money. These men got the attention and the smiles, not my husband. I could see his face slowly change. At first he tried to look relaxed, maybe even a little proud. But as time passed, I noticed his confidence slipping away. He started glancing over at me a few times, probably surprised and confused about why none of the women were coming to him. Then he tried something else. He asked the bartender to send a couple of drinks over to a table where some women were sitting nearby. He hoped that would catch their attention and maybe break the ice. But even then, none of the women said thank you or even looked his way. It was like the drinks were invisible. It was painful to watch. He looked so lost and uncomfortable, like someone who finally realized that things aren't always how he imagined them to be. You could almost see the pride and confidence he had been holding on to quietly crumble bit by bit throughout the evening. It was a tough lesson for him to learn, one that I think he really needed. Meanwhile, I was getting hit on left and right. For context, I'm a tall, red-haired country girl. I know my way around a bar. I know what men like to see and how to catch their attention without trying too hard. That night, I felt confident and comfortable in my own skin. I danced like nobody was watching, really letting myself enjoy the music and the moment. I could tell that younger men around me were noticing me. Some of them smiled and some of them came over and asked me to dance. It felt amazing to see them wanting to talk to me and to have fun together on the dance floor. The energy was electric and it gave my confidence a big boost. Throughout the night, men kept coming up to me, buying me drinks and trying to start conversations. It was flattering and fun. I could feel the difference in how I was being treated compared to my husband. I wasn't trying to make him feel bad, but I couldn't help but notice how much attention I was getting while he was almost invisible. It was like the whole night was a clear message to both of us about where we really stood with people our age and younger. Later that night, after I had a bit too much to drink, my husband finally came over to me. He looked really angry, like he was upset, not just because I was drunk, but because of everything that had happened that evening. Without saying much, he gently helped me up and escorted me back home. I could tell from the look on his face that the night had hit him hard. Even though he didn't say it, I'm pretty sure that experience showed him a lot about the reality of where he stood, especially compared to me. The next morning, he was upset and told me that I shouldn't have taken him to the bar just to humiliate him like that. He said his self-esteem had taken a big hit after seeing how many men were approaching me while no women had shown any interest in him. I couldn't help but laugh right in his face, just like he had laughed at me before. Then I told him that he was the one who started this by talking about dating younger women and thinking he was so in demand. I wanted to show him exactly where he really stood. I made it clear that if he thought about finding someone else, I could do the same and find someone way better than him. No problem at all. It was my way of standing up for myself and reminding him that I'm not someone to be taken for granted. Ever since that night, my husband has been much quieter than usual. The big ego and arrogance he had before seems to have come down quite a few notches. He's not bragging or making those kinds of comments anymore. It feels like he's finally starting to realize things need to change. And maybe he's reflecting on how he's been acting. It's been a relief to see that side of him soften, even if things aren't perfect yet. Update 3. Hello everyone. I just wanted to take a moment to address some of the concerns I know some of you might have about my marriage. First of all, please don't worry. My husband and I are okay. We're not breaking up or going through anything that can't be worked out. In fact, over the past week, we have had several deep and honest conversations where we really listened to each other and worked through the problems between us. My husband was definitely hurt by what happened between us, and I know he felt bad about how things got to that point. But I'm happy to say he has apologized to me sincerely for the things he said and did that hurt my feelings. That means a lot to me because it shows he's willing to take responsibility and work on himself and our relationship. I also want to make it clear what my true intentions were when I took him to the bar. It was never about humiliating him or making him feel bad. That was not my goal at all. What I really wanted was to help him see a reality that he had forgotten or ignored. Sometimes when people get caught up in their own thoughts or beliefs, they lose sight of the truth. I wanted to gently show him the truth, not to punish him, but to open his eyes and help him understand what was really going on around him. At the end of the day, I love my husband. I have loved him through every stage of his life and every challenge we've faced together. I loved him when he was overweight and struggling with his health. I loved him when he was going through tough financial times and didn't have much to his name. I loved him even when he was dealing with his bad habits, when he drank too much and gambled, even though it was hard on all of us. My love for him is not based on how he looks or what he does on the outside. It's about the person he is inside, the man I chose to build a life with, the father of our children, my partner through all the ups and downs. That hasn't changed, and it won't change. I think what really hurt me the most was how my husband made me feel just because he got some attention at the gym. It wasn't about the attention itself. I get attention from men too, quite often actually, but I have never felt the need to rub that kind of thing in his face or make him feel bad about it. I've always been committed to him and to our family, our kids, and the life we've built together. That's what matters most to me. And I want him to understand that. It's not about who notices us or who flirts with us. It's about the trust and love we share. When he started acting like he was better or more desirable just because a few girls glanced at him, it made me feel small and unappreciated. I felt like he was forgetting the commitment we made to each other, and that really hurt my heart. Anyway, since that whole situation, my husband has really learned his lesson. Things between us have gotten a lot better. We've even started going out on dates again, which is something we had completely stopped doing for a while. He's been paying more attention to me, noticing the little things and making an effort to show he cares. And I can tell that he really wants to spend quality time together, just the two of us, without distractions. It feels good to reconnect like this, like we're remembering why we fell in love in the first place. I'm hopeful that we'll keep building on this and continue growing stronger as a couple. It's been a positive change for both of us, and I'm glad we're moving forward in a better place. Update 4. It's been about 5 months since I last gave an update, and honestly, I really thought things were finally going to get better. I had hope in my heart that we had turned a corner and were on the path to healing and rebuilding our relationship in a healthier way. But sadly, things haven't gotten better. They've actually gotten worse. Here's what's been happening. My husband has become incredibly controlling over the past few months. Yes, on the surface, he seems more loving and caring than ever before. He tells me he loves me more often, he's affectionate, and he wants to spend time together constantly. But underneath all that, there's a darker side, a level of control and insecurity that I never expected. It's like he's convinced that every man out there wants something from me. He acts as if the moment he's not around, some man will approach me, and worse, that I'll just fall for it and end up sleeping with someone else. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's exhausting. I've never given him a reason to think that way. I've always been loyal to him, even through some of the worst moments in our marriage when he was drinking, gambling, and saying hurtful things to me. Through all of that, I stayed. I chose him again and again. And now, instead of trusting me, he's become possessive and paranoid. He questions where I'm going, who I'm with, what I'm wearing. He constantly worries that some random man will flirt with me. And instead of brushing it off, he acts like it's a real threat. Sometimes it feels like he sees me not as a partner, but as something he has to keep under control. Like he's afraid someone else will take me away if he's not watching closely enough. It's heartbreaking and overwhelming because All I've ever wanted was for us to feel secure with each other, to have trust, not suspicion. I don't know what made him this insecure, whether it's guilt, fear, or something else, but it's starting to affect how I feel in the relationship. I love him, but love shouldn't feel like being constantly watched or doubted. Yesterday, something happened that completely shook me. I was going about my day when I discovered something hidden in my car. An air tag. My heart dropped. At first, I froze. My mind couldn't make sense of it. But slowly, like puzzle pieces falling into place, everything started to click. This is how he always seemed to know exactly where I was. This is how he always just happened to call when I was somewhere or ask who I was with, even if I hadn't mentioned going anywhere special. The realization felt like a punch to the gut. I felt exposed, violated, and most of all, betrayed. The one person who was supposed to love me, trust me, and protect my peace had chosen instead to secretly monitor me like I was doing something wrong. I had never felt so hurt in a long time. That night, I couldn't hold it in. I confronted him. I showed him the AirTag and asked him directly if he had put it there. At first, he got defensive, his tone sharp, like he was cornered. He claimed he had done it for my safety, he said. You never know what can happen to a woman driving alone. And tried to paint it as something thoughtful, protective. But I wasn't buying it. I stood my ground. I told him that secretly tracking someone, especially your own spouse, has nothing to do with love or safety. It's about control. It's about fear. And it's about a serious lack of trust. Eventually, the wall of excuses broke down and he finally confessed the truth. His voice started to shake and he admitted that ever since that night at the bar when he saw how many men were drawn to me, how many men approached me, something inside him changed. He said he couldn't stop thinking about it. In his mind, he had created this idea that I might leave him any day for someone younger, stronger, more confident. He admitted that even though I have never given him a reason to doubt me, he can't stop overthinking. He said he knows I love him. He knows I've stood by him through thick and thin, but deep down he still fears that I'll wake up one day and realize I can do better. As he spoke, he nearly broke down. I saw tears in his eyes. He wasn't angry anymore. He looked exhausted, broken, and afraid. And for a moment, my anger softened into sadness because I realized I wasn't just dealing with a controlling partner. I was dealing with a man drowning in his own insecurity. Someone who's terrified of losing the one person who's always stayed. I finally told my husband that this isn't something we can just move past on our own. This isn't a small fight or a misunderstanding we can simply sweep under the rug. What we're dealing with is much deeper than that, and it's affecting the very foundation of our relationship. Trust, safety, and respect. So I told him clearly and firmly that we both need help, not just him, both of us. Because even though he may be the one who acted out in fear and insecurity, this whole situation has left me deeply hurt, confused, and emotionally drained. We can't heal in silence. We can't grow stronger by pretending we're fine. And I can't carry the weight of his emotions and mine alone. I told him that I'm going to find us a marriage counselor, a professional who can help us talk through these issues in a safe, structured, and healthy way. Someone who can help him explore where these feelings of insecurity are coming from and help me process the betrayal I've felt. Someone who can guide us in rebuilding trust, setting boundaries, and learning how to love each other without fear or control. He listened. He didn't fight me on it. I think, deep down, he knows this is bigger than both of us. And that if we don't deal with it now, if we let this continue, we'll only end up hurting each other even more. I don't know exactly what lies ahead, but I know that if there's any hope of saving this marriage, not just surviving, but truly healing, we have to face this head on, and we need help doing that. So that's what I'm going to do for him, myself, and for our kids. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.